Welcome to episode 24 of my podcast, The View from the Crow's Nest. And today's episode is going to be a bit of a review of a few things that I've been reading or watching recently. And as you know, if you've listened to this podcast a few times before, part of the reason I do it like this is because I want a record of, of my daily thoughts and what have you. And I figure that if I make a note of the books that I've read, then I'll have an index, a database I can search through by a keyword, by the name of the book, and find out what I thought about it, and indeed if I've read it before, etc. And my thoughts on it, which may change over time. So, to get straight down to it, I just finished the book 1 Million Followers by Brendan Kane. And I found it pretty good. I think that he assumes too much technical detail from the read. Like, I think you need to have a bit of a grasp of general social media marketing and advertising before you'll get the full benefit from it. I think he gives you tactics for most of the main social networks, and some general tactics and ideas, rather than necessarily a plan in terms of, do this week 1, do this week 2, etc. So it's more of a, not disjointed, but a collection of different chapters. Here's one on YouTube, here's one on Snapchat, here's one on Instagram, etc. But, it goes down to a bit of a nutshell. You can kind of compress it into the idea of, to grow rapidly, you need great content. To grow followers rapidly, or your audience rapidly, you need great content. You need people to want to share it. You probably want to pay for ads in order to boost the number of people who are seeing the various posts that you're doing, and you want to leverage influencers or people who have larger audience. And this is general business principle, joint ventures or the like. So pretty much that's what you can condense it down to. There is some value though for individual tactics, so if you're interested in social media marketing, then you should probably check it out. And then after I finished that, I just started reading Body of Work by Pamela Slim. And the reason for reading this, I wanted to find a book, and this is part of my new kind of approach to books. I read quite a lot, and oftentimes I'll read something which makes total sense and seems really cool, but actually is not of massive practical use to me in that moment, because I'm not necessarily working on whatever the subject the book is covering. So now, it's taken me enough years to realise this, but now I'm focused on reading books that solve a current problem that I've got or I'm about to tackle. And that might involve me doing a Google search or an Amazon search to find the best book in that category, etc. So that's what's led me on to Body of Work by Pamela Slim. And the concept of it is that one of the things that often you're told when you're building, particularly again, social media posts and audiences and what have you, but generally in business, is to find your kind of authentic self, to find your story, to find the mountain of value that you're sitting on, the thread that weaves through what you've done, so that you can start presenting yourself as as an expert in that particular niche, which only you are in because only you have led your life. But it's kind of slightly like focus on the one thing, find your one thing niche. And I've always found it a bit challenging because I have so many different kind of outlets and I don't want to choose between them. One day I'm a songwriter, another day I'm an author, another day I'm a CEO of a business, another day I'm a marketeer. And I love all of these things, I really do. Another day I'm a world schooler and what have you. So I wanted to see if there was some way of connecting a thread of my story so that I could understand that kind of path and what makes me tick even more, and then be able to put that across better to people, to you guys, to anybody who wants to listen to me. It might inform my business decisions, it might inform my artistic decisions, etc. So I found this book and I'm 25% in, and frankly it's not done anything of use right now. Not to say it won't, but the exercises that she's given so far are all pretty standard kind of, 5 or 6 questions to help you uncover your passion or whatnot. If you had 1 year to live, what would you spend that year doing, kind of thing. useful questions, but I was hoping for a little more depth, a little more insight than just kind of stuff that, Anthony Robbins was writing about 20 years ago and, Napoleon Hill was writing about 100 years ago or whatever, So far, not too impressed, but we'll see. We'll see whether that changes. So those are the books that I'm kind of finished and just starting on. And that moves on to the next subject of what I've just been watching. And again, this is more a note to self, but Blade Runner 2049. I've been watching a fair amount of films recently because that's one thing I also love and I want to make films. Yep, I told you I was diverse. I want to be a director as well. And I've cussed pretty much all of the films that I've watched because they've just been really uninventive and unimaginative and basically shit. So I'm not a huge fan of the original Blade Runner. It's a good film, but it's a bit too, I don't know, stylized, arty. I don't know. I think it's Ridley Scott, and I do like Ridley Scott. But so my thought with Blade Runner 2049 is that it's just too slow, too many lingering shots. I blame the edit actually on this one. There's far too much, hey, this is a nice shot, let's hold the camera on it for 15 seconds to give it even more meaning. But that's fine for one or two shots, but when the whole film is like that, it's kind of like, okay. So it tries to really give atmosphere with this, and to a degree it succeeds, but I think it's a bit too much. But it's certainly an interesting film, and I wouldn't put it in the category of shit. I'd probably put it in the category of, you watch it once, you're probably not going to want to watch it again. But, that's fine. So that's my little review, reviews of reviews today. On another note, recently I've just soft launched my marketing agency, digital marketing agency, Audience Ninja. And in the past I've done some work with a wonderful gentleman, a songwriter. He's had a bunch of hits, called Winston Seller. And I have consulted, he has some clients and musicians, and in the past I've consulted on marketing with those guys one-on-one and done sessions. And we've been speaking very recently, and he just said, just yesterday, he said, I've got a friend in Atlanta who's got a label, she's got a couple of music clients, and she's looking for somebody to help with the marketing. I don't know too much more about it, but I just think how funny it is that just when I'm about to put quite a bit more time into the agency and really building it and, bringing clients on board and whatnot, somebody who I haven't spoken to in months and months comes to me with, I've got a couple of potential clients for you. Don't know whether that will lead to anything, not because I don't trust the connection or what have you, but just because you never know what the client actually wants, if that's a service that I either can or want to deliver. So we'll see. But it's just funny how the universe is like that. So maybe these are going to be the first two official clients of mine. Well, I say official, actually. I've done a fair amount of work under Audience Ninja, but all of it's just been kind of word of mouth rather than me really doing much with the brand. So we'll see. So as I say, it's a bit of a review episode today. That was the other review part. Yes, the other one. This morning I had my first ever session with a personal trainer. So I've trained in martial arts off and on, but mostly on for a lot of my life. And, that's kind of kept me fit and kept me in shape. But more recently, particularly in the last year, I haven't been training at any schools. And I've done conditioning and sessions like that and trained at home, but I've found it difficult to motivate myself and blah, blah, blah. And my wife has been using this personal trainer for the last month or so, a bit longer probably, and she's really happy with him. So I thought I'd give him a go. He comes with highly recommended by my wife. So we had the first session today, this morning, and I was a bit anxious about it. And I can say he was very good attention to detail. He's a nice guy, and I'm definitely going to stick with him, and I think there's going to be some good results. He's a specialist in calisthenics, which is bodyweight exercises. So my goal is to be able to do things like the planche, I'm not sure how you say it, planche, is it French? But human flag, that kind of stuff. So, pretty high level stuff, but you've got to have a goal to work towards. But what made me laugh is he said, how are you? And I said, well, my conditioning's not too bad, but, my weakness is my CV, my cardiovascular. I don't train it, and I always shy away from it, and I don't particularly like it. So he said, well, today we're just going to go through a few exercises, just very basic, just to see where you're at, etc. So it's, very light today. And we got to the very last exercise, and the last 10 seconds of it, I was feeling a little bit fatigued. And I was like, I should be all right. Got to the end of it. He said, okay, let's finish now with some stretching. And he's like, stand up. I was like, don't think I can. And now I'm feeling a bit sick and a bit faint. Let me lie down. And in the end, after about a minute of me kind of like moaning on the floor, I was like, I'll call you back, and turned off the call because it's on a video. The guy is a Moroccan guy based in Russia at the moment. And so I was lying on the floor for about 20 minutes, sweating profusely. I mean, it was about 30 degrees. But basically, I caned myself too hard and my CV's rubbish. So I did promise yesterday I would report back on my experience. And it was good, but it took it out of me. So we'll see in the next couple of days how I feel. And then I'll do another session later this week. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting in shape, and it's lovely to have somebody tell me do this, do that, rather than me have to figure it out from books or YouTube or my own exercises, which I know pretty well. But equally, if you do the same routine again and again, it benefits you to a degree, but I believe that it doesn't benefit you to the degree that a more varied exercise regime, exercise plan will. And having somebody on hand who specialises and tailors it to your bespoke to your ability in that moment, I think is probably going to get the best results. But we shall see. So that's this episode done and dusted with. If you've been listening this far, thank you very much. You're a champion, an absolute champion. I haven't talked about music projects or other things. I will do that in the next few days because they're about to come to fruition. So very exciting to bring those to you. If you're about on Twitter, come and say hello at Romeo Crow. I'd love to speak to you. I'd love to say what's up, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for listening. I hope you're very well. Take care of yourself. Have a lovely morning, a lovely afternoon, evening or night, wherever you are in the world. Take care. Toodles.